Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I am making dinner rolls that only take an hour, and I've had several people tell me that I should make a video on it, so here we are. One thing that you will need that makes it so fast is instant yeast. It's the blue packet. So the original is in the red, instant is blue, so make sure that you get the instant. All right, let's get started. Okay, you will need a half a cup of water. I use filtered water. And then you will need a cup of milk. I use whole milk. I have never used anything other than whole milk. Add that to there and then pop it in the microwave. I put it in there for a minute. And while that's heating up, I went ahead and got 2 tablespoons of salted butter, and that will need to be melted. So once you take your milk out of the microwave, go ahead and put that in there. My milk was not hot enough, so I had to put it back in there. It needs to be about 105 to 110 degrees to activate the yeast. Put it back in there for 30 seconds and it was ready. So then I added my butter, made sure I got all of that in there. You do not want to waste that. And then add 2 tablespoons of honey. I don't really measure certain things, so I just kind of guess. It's okay if you get a little bit more than 2 tablespoons. And then you will need a tablespoon of the instant yeast. These packets, each packet is not a full tablespoon, so you will need about 1.5 to 1 3/4 of a packet. I need to just buy bulk yeast, that way I always have it on hand instead of having to spend money on these little packets. Go ahead and mix that together and mix that honey up in there, and then you will add 3.5 to 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I like King Arthur. I normally do closer to 4 cups and then stir that up real good. Get all of that off the sides and the edges, and then just mix it the best that you can, because you are going to mix it by hand and knead it and everything. I almost forgot, you will need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. You could even use 2 teaspoons. I actually think 2 would be better. I've done 1 teaspoon, I've done 1.5. The next time I'll try 2, because I think that'll give the dough a better flavor. So then I just stuck my hand in the flour because the dough will stick a little bit. And then flour your surface. My surface is clean. Make sure you clean it off before you do this. And then start to knead your dough. It does take a few minutes. You will need to knead it for about 2 minutes. Just mix everything really good. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And it's actually kind of fun, because you can just feel the texture change. So just knead that real good, fold it over, fold all the sides over, roll it around, and then you just fold it into a loaf shape and then spray. I spray my bowl and then I spray the top with olive oil, that way it doesn't stick. And then I put my bowl over by the window because it needs to be in a warm place, and then let it sit for an hour. After an hour, you can see how the dough has risen, and then put it back on a clean surface. You will need to spray your pan, whatever pan you're going to be putting it in, and then cut the loaf in half. And then you will cut each half into halves, and then just keep doing that until you have about probably around 16 to 18 rolls. You could even have 15. It just depends on how big or small you want them. I like to have a good bit of rolls. That way you can have leftovers and you can have some the next day. Then fold over the sides, fold them under. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just set those in your pan. My son, he's 3.5, and he's helped me do the rolls. And he would just squish his roll all around and it's still baked just fine. So don't worry about making that perfect. Put all those in there, scrunch them in there, even if it's not a perfect line. You can see mine's not perfect, and then I cover it for 15 minutes. Then I added 2 to 3 cups of rice. I did 2 cups, a little bit over 2 cups of broccoli. I really don't measure, just throw it all in there. Do a 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of sour cream, and then a whole can of cream of chicken. Make sure you get all that in there. Mix it together real good. You can add some salt and pepper. I add a good bit of onion powder, and then I add a lot of garlic powder, and then mix that up. There's some homemade chicken broth that I put in there, and then 2 cups of cheese. I did a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. You could do more. I just figured the 1/2 is what works best for me and all my ingredients. Then put all of that in whatever pan you're going to bake it in, and then I added 2 to 3 cups of shredded rotisserie chicken, and then make sure you spread it around evenly in your pan, and then you can pop that in the oven for 15 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to baste the top of these rolls with a egg, and I've also done the tops with butter. You don't have to do either. If you prefer butter, just use butter. I tried it this time with the egg, and it does give it a nice glaze on the top, so I will probably continue to use the egg. And then you can put those in the oven for 15 minutes, and there you have it. Delicious buttery rolls, and they are just so good. They melt in your mouth, and it's paired perfectly with the casserole. And I just add some extra butter on top. Then once your casserole has been in there for 15 minutes, I did add some cheese on top as well. Then I added 2 packs of Ritz crackers and a 1/2 cup of melted butter. Mixed that up, poured that on top, spread it around, and then you will put that back in the oven for 10 minutes. And I went ahead and put my rolls in a to-go container because this is a meal that I took to a friend that just had a baby. And there you have it. Delicious rice, broccoli, chicken casserole, and homemade yeast rolls all in an hour.